of smuggled petrol seized in Jalingo. Lagos to implement a no-truck policy. On the international scene, refugee population to increase around the world. Vladimir Putin issues condition for a ceasefire. And in Syria, interim President Ahmad al-Shara signs constitutional declaration. In sports, Pinnick loses his seat.
And on entertainment news, King Charles III expresses admiration for Davido. What issues bench warrant for very dark man?
This is Nigerian Pilot Television News on the Hour. I am Chima Ola Inwoma. Now the news in details. The Nigerian Customs Service is stepping up efforts to combat fuel smuggling, targeting petrol traffickers in Gembu and Kadiaka border areas of Taraba State. Speaking at Jalingo at a public auction of the confiscated goods, the Controller General of the Customs Service, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, told media in Jalingo that over 37,000 litres of petrol were seized from smugglers. Adeniyi, who was speaking during a public auction of confiscated goods, also announced the seizure of a special purpose transportation truck that was being used for the criminal activity. The customs boss called on communities to report any suspicious movements in order to combat what he termed is a huge blow to the economy. The operation was conducted with technical assistance from the Office of the National Security Advisor, ONSA, and in collaboration with the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has issued an order giving the Plateau State Electricity Regulatory Commission authority over the state electricity markets. NERC has confirmed that the government in Plateau has fulfilled all legal requirements for the move. The transfer order directed Just Electricity Distribution plc to incorporate a subsidiary to assume responsibilities for intrastate supply and distribution of electricity. The order mandates that the process must be completed within 60 days from 12th March 2025. Plateau is now the latest state to regulate electricity, joining Lagos, Imo, Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Enugu, Niger, Edo, and Oyo. The Lagos state government has said it will implement a strict no-truck policy throughout the state. This is in response to the devastating gas truck explosion that happened beneath Otelola Bridge on Tuesday night. The Commissioner for Transportation in Lagos, Oluwaseun Osiyemi, said this when he led a team from the ministry to the scene of the accident. Osiyemi pointed out that the truck had violated Lagos state law by disregarding a no truck allowed sign on the road, emphasizing that the Ministry of Transportation would take steps to prevent similar accidents. He further added that the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure has been mandated to conduct an integrity test, which will be done before the end of the week to ensure the bridge is safe for public use. Now some international stories. Some 6.7 million people can become newly displaced around the world by the end of 2026, the Danish Refugee Council said on Friday. This projection is based on a model that predicts displacement trends by analyzing over 100 factors such as security, politics, and economics in countries across the world. The forecasts say nearly a third of new displacements will be from Sudan, which has the worst refugee crisis globally after nearly 2 years of war. Another 1.4 million people are expected to be forcibly displaced from Myanmar. So far, 27 countries account for nearly one-third of all global displacement, even as key donors like the United States cut off international aid to conflict areas. Russian President Vladimir Putin has questioned the proposal brokered by the United States for a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Putin on Thursday setting forth tough conditions and demanded concessions from Kyiv, despite saying he supported a truce in theory. Russia says it agrees with the proposal to stop hostilities, but this ceasefire must be aimed at a long-lasting peace and it must look at the root causes of the crisis. Putin maintains previous claims by the Kremlin that the current Ukrainian government is part of the underlying problem. He also suggested that Ukraine halt troop mobilization and training, as well as the suspension of weapons supplying to Kyiv by other countries during the ceasefire at a time when Russian troops are advancing on almost all areas of combat contacts. Syria's interim president, Ahmed al-Shara, has signed a constitutional declaration to cover a 5-year transitional period, 3 months after leading the rebel that overthrew Bashir al-Assad. The document says Islam is the religion of the president, just as the previous constitution did. It also states that Islamic law is the main source of legislation, according to the drafting committee. The declaration also enshrines separation of powers and judicial independence and guarantees women's rights, as well as freedom of the media and personal expression.
A bench warrant has been issued for the arrest of social media activist Martins Jose, known as Very Dark Man, for allegedly defaming gospel singer Mercy Chinwo. The warrant was issued on Thursday by the Chief Magistrate Court in Abuja following a criminal defamation action placed by Chinwo. Magistrate Emmanuel Iyana directed the Nigeria Police Force and other law enforcement organizations to detain the defendant and bring him before the court to respond to the criminal charges the gospel artist had made against him. The court also observed that Very Dark Man did not show up for the hearing after being summoned on the 5th March to answer the allegations against him. Magistrate Iyana also refuses to overturn the arrest order, even after a strong plea by the counsel to the defendants, Deji Adeoju. Very Dark Man had accused Mercy Chinwo of embezzling money for performance without paying her previous record label. An injunction requiring Very Dark Man to remove, take back, and publicly apologize for the alleged false and defamatory remarks made against the gospel musician is one of the demands made by Mercy Chinwo's attorney. Dangote Refinery has reduced the cost of petrol loading for the 3rd time in 2025. The adjustment from 825 naira to 815 naira was made on Thursday and has been welcomed by oil marketers as they now bypass private depot and source directly from the refinery. The 10 naira reduction is expected to trigger price cuts across the country. Meanwhile, the landing cost of imported petrol in Nigeria has fallen to over 774 naira per litre, potentially paving the way for further reduction in pump price to around 800 naira per litre. International Renewable Energy Agency (ARENA) estimates that Nigeria, the country, can generate up to 210 gigawatts of power by utilizing just 1% of its suitable land for solar projects. The solar sector for commercial and industrial use is rapidly growing, with projection of up to 1,457 megawatts installed by the end of 2025. However, utility-scale solar development is hindered by weak grid infrastructures and progress on government 30-30 Green Vision initiatives, which aims for 5 gigawatts of solar by 2030 has been slow. Also, plans for 14 new solar farms have been delayed due to challenges in securing government guarantees. The Renewable Energy Master Plan is targeting 500 megawatts of solar power by the end of this year, with renewable energy expected to account for 36% of the country's electricity generation by 2030. Key incentives such as import duties exemption and tax credits are expected to further drive growth in the sector. With these, we've come to the end of stories on entertainment and business. I am Obogo Patricia. Please stay tuned as more stories unfold.
Welcome back. Now, sports stories. Former president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Melvin Pinnick, has lost his seat on the FIFA Council after falling short by just one vote during elections held on the 14th Extraordinary General Assembly of the Confederation of African Football in Cairo, Egypt. Pinnick, who was seeking re-election to the 37-member FIFA Council, secured 28 votes, narrowly missing the threshold achieved by Suleiman Waberi of Djibouti, who secured the fifth of final spot with 29 votes. The election saw all 54 CAF member associations casting votes for 5 male and 1 female representative. Nigeria's vote was cast by NFF President Ibrahim Gusau. Pinnick's defeat marks a significant setback for Nigerian football administration. He is the third Nigerian to be elected into the FIFA Council and secured his seat in March 2021. Pinnick has previously served as the president of the NFF for 2 consecutive terms, from 2014 to 2022, before being succeeded by Ibrahim Gusau. Current President Patrice Motsepe, who was unchallenged for a second term, will retain his seat on the FIFA Council as stipulated by the organization's regulations. And with this, we have come to the end of the news on Pilot Television TV. I am Chima Ola Iwoma. Thank you for watching.